Okay, so here we have motorcycle ignition. Customer brought it in, need a key for it. This one here looks like we've lucked out. There is a code on it, so it has a bunch of letters and numbers. With this particular lock, what we're looking for is this A80. So we will look up that code, which will give us the cuts. So let me get the computer up and I'll show you that. So the code, like I said, let's see if it'll focus here. Is focus. It's A80, take my word for it. Anyway, so we come over to the code program, and then we'll type in A80, and come down here, hit search. So now this is a list of all the different manufacturers, all the different keys, all the different everything that the A80 falls in, supposedly falls in there. So this is the list that the A80 supposedly falls in the code series. Now these A001, and they have 4 numbers, so obviously these ones here aren't what we're looking for. So we want A00 to A99. So we're looking for that, and we come over, and it is a Honda motorcycle. And we look for the year, so it's 83 plus. This one here is 02 plus. So the key blank is an X84. And if we click on that, it opens it up. And this tells us that the cuts are 31212. And it gives us what the cut key should look like. And it also gives a profile of the keyway. So it helps you narrow down the keys. If you know, it just shows you what the key is supposed to look like. Over here it gives the ILCO number and the ILCO easy number. So X84 is the ILCO number, HD74 is the easy number. But say you carried a different manufacturer. If you carry jet keys, so a jet key is an HD74NP. If you carried Silca keys, Silca keys are HON31R. So the program will tell you if you're using different keys than ILCO. ILCO is the main player in aftermarket keys. So 99% of the time you're going to be dealing with ILCO keys. There are keys out there, they're done by Access. You find those in the box stores, some hardware stores, and this program does not give access numbers. So if you have an access key that someone brings in, if it's not one that you're familiar with, then you have to do some research to find out what actual blank it is. Unless you can look at the keyway. So basically, if you take a key and you look at it, let's see here, up against a black background. So you take the key and look at it that way. With practice, you can get a ballpark on what you think it might be. So, here's another key. So you look at that, and so you look at the way that it, the shape of it, and over time you can have a general idea of what key blank to start looking for, and then you test your theory and you go from there. So anyway, once you have this, you need to take these cuts and generate a key. So this box here is for your key machines. So we do have an Ilco Silca machine. So the number we would use is the 160 card. It's the A, jaw, and stop 0. So the stop 0 is the a shoulder. Then there, on this particular machine, it has grooves in it, which I'll show you, that you can take a metal stop and slide it into the grooves, and it will stop the key at the tip of the key. If you don't have an Ilco Silca machine, so let's see, ITL. So ITL is card number 211. The flat is 3, the insert is 2, the tip is 0. I'm not familiar with an ITL machine, so I'm not sure what the flat, insert, and tip are. But I'm just showing you that it does give you other machines. So another popular machine is the 1200 series of key machines. So you would use the CMC37 for the code machine. If you had a punch, HPC punch, you would use this setup, and you would use cutter 1011. So let me head over to the machines and I will go into further detail about that. Okay, so here are the machines that we have. This one here is the Silca machine. This machine here is the 1200 machine. This machine here is for cutting flat steel, like your safety deposit box keys. And this machine here is a Sidewinder, or you'll hear it called laser cut. It's the keys that have the wave down the side of the key versus on the edge of the key. I will see if I can find a key and put it in here. Okay, so here we have a card that will work in this machine. So it gives you your depths and your spaces. It gives you a very rudimentary side view of what the key that this card is used for. It gives you other information. It will give you your cutter number. So this one would take a 14 MC. So this card gives you all kinds of information. And then this is your depths. This is your spaces. So when you put the card in the machine, it slides in behind this little plastic protection. There are two little arms that can sometimes get stuck on the card, so you have to be careful. So this little arm was getting stuck on this cutout, so it slides down in. The cutout goes over the pivot point for the two arms, This wheel here will move your spacing, which moves this head relative to the cutter. And then this wheel here changes that. This wheel here does your depth, so it'll go in and so as it's doing the depth, it will move this carriage closer to the wheel, and the closer to the wheel, your key would go into this groove here. So the closer to the wheel, the deeper the cut. So by contrast, you have this machine here. This one here is an automatic machine. So it will duplicate keys, and it'll also generate a key from a code. So if you're going to duplicate a customer's key, you would put it in here, in this jaw. It then uses a laser beam that shoots up here that reads how deep the cuts are. Then you would put a blank key in this side, and then that it will store those numbers, or it'll store that profile for the key. It doesn't actually care what the numbers are. And then it will use this cutter to cut a copy of that key. In our situation, we don't have an original key, so we want to cut. You can either cut by card, cut by code, or you can have it talk to the computer. We don't have it set up to talk to the computer. We're not cutting by code because we already used the computer to get the code, so we want to cut by card. So you go down to cut by card, hit enter, and then you can either use an ILCO card, which is what this machine is. You can use the actual HPC number. You could type in the number of the card for an HPC machine. You can if you had the card number for that machine but not for the ILCO machine, then you can type that card in here. But we have the ILCO number, and so you would say, okay, that's the card I need. So the 160. You hit enter, and it will ask you what you want for the cuts. Now, the machine already knows that this is a double-sided key, so when you go to cut it, it'll say you cut the first side and tell you to flip the key over and cut the second. It tells you that the possible depths on this card are a 1, a 2, or a 3. So if you looked up the code on the machine and it had a 4, then this is the wrong card for you. So basically that's how that works. And then so now you would take a blank key and you would put it in here, and then once you set it in there, you would hit start, and the machine will do it. Now, if you remember, it said that it needed the 0 stop. So this flip up here, that goes to the shoulder of a key. So the bump that sticks out before the cuts, where the cuts are, that is the shoulder. And then you will have it'll have a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. So what you do there is you take this piece of metal in there and it will allow the key to stop at the metal. And then that's how you gauge where the key is in the jaws on this. So this has multiple jaws, so A, B, C, and D, which changes either the depth of this, or it may have a profile in there, and in different keys require different jaws, but 90+% will be able to be done on the A jaw. Okay, so we know our code number, we know our card, we know our key blank, we have the machines that'll do it. So the next thing to do is to pull the key blank from the board and get it cut. So there are lots and lots and lots of key blanks there. We have key blanks over there, we have key blanks here, we have key blanks there. So there are lots and lots of key blanks. And after a while you get to know where things are. So we go over, and this is the blank that we want. See if I can get it to focus here. Let's put it on the desk. So it is not focusing. There we go. It is an X84 or so it says X84 HD74. So if you remember, those are the two key blanks. So we have the Ilco number is X84, the Ilco Easy is HD74. And this is an Ilco blank. So we will now bring it over to the machine. So we are at the machine. So come over here. We want to cut by card. Enter. Then the card number was 160. And then our cuts were 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. So 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. Now we come up here. And we will put the key in here. So let me get you situated here. Okay, so we slide the key in to the groove, and then we flip the zero stop. If you remember, it was a zero stop, and then this part here where it sticks out, so that's the shoulder. If it didn't have a shoulder, then we'd have to gauge it. Then we'd have to gauge it off the tip. So this does have a shoulder, and we're supposed to use the shoulder. So you put the key in, kind of tighten it down loosely so it still slides, but it doesn't fall out. Then we flip our gauge up, and then we slide the key in so that the shoulder hits the stop. And then we tighten it down. The stop falls out of the way, and then you hit enter to accept the numbers, and then you just hit start. that's that. So what it did at the beginning, you saw it go thump, thump, thump. It was looking for the key. So it barely kisses the key so that the machine knows where the key is, reference to itself, and then it can gauge what the depths of the cuts need to be. So it does a lot of the work for you, and it takes a lot of the guesswork out so that there's fewer mistakes. Now this is a double-sided key, so put you back down here. You take the key out. You can see that it's now cut on one side, not the other. You take and flip it back over. You put the cut side in the jaws. Flip the stop up. Tighten the key down. And rinse and repeat. Let's see if we can get you guys this angle of the key being cut. It may not. It probably won't work because it's. Let's see if we can get you this angle of the key being cut. And that's the other side cut. So now we take our cut key and we take our ignition. So we take our cut key and we take our ignition, slide the key in, and it works. On off. That's how you make a key by code.